Okay, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Global AI podcast. We are on episode 23. And this one I am really looking forward to because I think it's kind of diving in a little bit into how AI products work and what we can do with them. So let me welcome back to your screens and your ears, I guess, Arafat, who is my co-host today.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Arafat, based in Sydney, Australia. I'm Microsoft MVP in AI, and I will hand over to my esteemed colleague Akansha back, and then Akansha, over to you.
I realized I didn't even do my own. I'm like, hi, my name's Akansha. Welcome back. If you've listened to a few of our episodes, I'm sure you've seen both of us around at some stage. But yep, also another AI MVP based here in Melbourne, Australia. And let me bring on our guest, Ashish. Come tell us where you're based and what you're up to these days, because I know you've joined us at a very kind time across the world.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. I'm based out of Boston, Massachusetts, USA. And this is evening time for me, still pretty comfortable. I'm product manager in Microsoft. I work on AI Builder. And we're working on a bunch of interesting things in the open AI space. And just AI in general is super interesting right now. It's just bubbling up every day, I feel.
Oh, stop. Every day I'm kind of like a little bit more terrified, a little bit more excited, and a little bit just have no idea what the hell is happening with the world anymore. So I think you're in a really cool place in the whole sphere of everything that's happening. So let's actually start with some basic introductions. Give me a little bit of an idea exactly what AI Builder is, just so that the listeners who haven't heard about it before can get an idea of what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the day, and maybe even how it kind of talks to OpenAI, because I think everybody's interested in hearing how the hell OpenAI works and what do we do with it.
Absolutely. AI Builder, you should imagine it as a no-code AI tool, capability, platform, however you want to characterize it. It lives inside the Power Platform, and this is Microsoft's low-code, no-code platform. An AI Builder is a collection of models. Our goal always have been to democratize AI for just citizen developer kind of audience. And it comes with the pre-built AI models, and their models are that you can modify and customize as well. Um, our ethos generally has been keep it simple, keep it delightful, and again just remove clutter and jargons as much as possible. And just this audience, I feel AI should be very relatable because sometimes AI feels like this daunting thing. I don't know how to use it, and I will get in trouble of some sort, right? So we've tried to keep it really really simple. And again, yeah, that's in a nutshell what AI Builder is.
Yeah, no, I think we'll touch base on that point again, as what is its core capabilities when it comes to AI Builder. But you can answer that in my next question because it is quite relative. So as you have spoken about that you don't use those jargons, like it is the strategy of Microsoft that they to empower the normal, or I will say regular citizen developers or no code makers who are not developers, and or I should label them as business users. Business users. So for to empower the business users, and I've seen that in Power Platform, they have simplified a lot of jargons, a lot of words, where we used to see as classification, um, um, and entity extraction. So I think now it is changing to different kind of words. But the question comes in that, is it just a simplification of the jargons, or and do I need some kind of like programming language knowledge, data science expertise, a little bit even, or not at all? And if not at all, then what do I need, as well as the core capabilities of AI Builder, like what kind of problems I can solve today with AI Builder?
Very good question. So let me start with where you started. Is it just up-leveling of jargons and simplification of jargons, or is it simplification of the capabilities as well? I've worked in Microsoft for the last 9 years, and I've worked as a AI product manager, and I've worked with kind of PhD data scientists all the time. And anytime you interact with that group, they're like talking about supervised learning, unsupervised learning, clustering, and stuff like that. That doesn't make any sense for a citizen developer, right? They're closer to business problem. They are there to solve a business challenge that they are running into. So that would just not work out, right? So we've up-leveled the jargons to a simpler level, but we've also up-leveled the scenarios a little bit, right? We're trying to go closer to business scenarios than just bubble up raw kind of AI capability. Example of that would be things like you will see invoice processing is a thing, right? Or intelligent document processing is a thing. And what does that mean? When people are working with structured and unstructured data of some sort, it's a document and I want to extract something from it, or it's a document and I want to identify what kind of document is this. Um, so we try to bubble up scenarios like that. Can I process my receipts automatically? Can I identify my users? KYC, right, is a scenario, right? Can I use identity documents to identify people? So we're trying to go closer to business scenarios as much as possible, and thereby kind of remove the friction for business user to understand, process what this AI means for me, or again, which AI to pick, right? So your choices become a little bit easier. What kind of skills do they need to have? They need to have a good business acumen. They need to have good sense of data. What is the data that they're working on? And then it's an input output pipe in my opinion, right? I mean, if I bring in a document which is in Chinese, Russian, or whatnot, my goal is to translate it into English and then do something on it, right? As long as you understand what your input or output is, then this should feel like a function, a library or some sort, right, that you're activating.
Yeah, this is a good point. They need to have a good sense of data. Um, this is very this I think this is essential. Um, if they don't know that what problem are they solving with that data, it is going to be tricky. So coming to the other part of the question, and that's out of the AI builder world, how do you think that um, this traction of low code, no code AI has grown in the recent years, and what do you think it is driving? Like we see that Satya talks about, we need to empower everyone to achieve more, and others as well, not just Satya. We've seen that people from the other companies, other big software giants are coming up with the same notion. But what exactly is driving its growth?
So there are multi dimensions to be honest, right? As I mentioned, right, I've been working for past several years in professional data science world a lot, right? And during my time there, I've seen a lot of phenomenal AI capabilities getting built, models, I would say, getting built, but at the same time, like a lot of them, almost like 90%, I would say, not getting anywhere, not seeing the light of the day, not becoming productized or solve a business problem. The problem is now with the AI, right? I mean, sometimes the AI reached the maturity that the business needed later than what, what the time frame was, or it took too much time to build that AI. Maybe it was too expensive at times to build that AI. Sometimes just the data was not there, or accumulating enough data and annotating enough data to be able to solve something will take too much time. Sometimes the model was there, but the engineering team was not capable or situated or there to take that model into some production scenario. So it's a lot of friction along the way, and that's why I was kind of quoting that 90% number, that well-defined, well-intentional, good AI capabilities did not land in production. How's that changing with low code, no code? Um, some of these systems are very well connected. So if you look at AI Builder, it's connected into the Power Platform ecosystem. So it's consuming data from the platform and giving output back to the platform, right? So if you're building a flow, It is as easy as, hey, if my data comes or an email comes to me in Outlook, I want to take the body of the email. I want to do a sentiment analysis on that email, or a tweet comes in, I want to do sentiment analysis, and then I want to capture in some table the sentiment of it along with extraction from that email or tweet or whatnot, right? So it's taking AI closer to where value is getting created. Um, in the previous world, AI was built in, I wouldn't say in a silo, but in a different place. And then it had to come closer to that business solution, that business value creation chain. And I feel with low code AI, that is getting short circuited a lot. And I feel that's why it's kind of taking off. Also, if you see just our human interaction with computers has changed over time. Like when I was in school, I was doing basic programming. We were working with floppy disk, and uh, as I grew up, I started doing C, C sharp, C++ kind of programming. Uh, our language of interaction has changed, right? Now we can instruct the model in natural language, and the model responds back in natural language. There was a time I was doing assembly code as well. We were still working with computers, right? What it has done is, by simplification of our interaction with the machines, it has brought a much larger population which can now talk to intelligent agents, computers, models, right? And they can get stuff done, because I don't think as human beings we are short of ideas, right? We are maybe short of skills, right? And that is what was kind of stopping people uh, to be able to solve their problems, because they might not have had the skills to build an AI model, or to interact with an AI model, or to take an AI model into some solution, some business application. But by solving that problem of how we interact with machines and intelligent agents, we're bringing a much larger population that can work with these things now.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I talk a lot about low code stuff, and I'm like, oh, just the ability for it to bring so many more people into the loop. And I think with everything else that's now being released this year, the co-piloting and the chat GPTs of the world, it's becoming so much easier bringing people without the skills into the fold, and also kind of actually teaching them as they go. Like I built a website the other day with HTML. Sorry, I feel like I've talked about this so much in the last 2 weeks, but it is mind blowing to me. Like I built a website with HTML code, and I've never looked at HTML code in my life, but it, like ChatGPT as a response, wasn't just giving me, oh, here's the code to build this, but also explaining why this code was used and what you should do if you want to change different parts of it, or why that works. And I'm like, I don't need to go to college anymore. Like I don't need to do a course to do this, because this is teaching me. But I think that is the premise of low code stuff, where it allows you to bring that kind of functionality into your day-to-day life, where like, hey, I could hire someone worth $200,000 to just build this out, or there's this thing right here which is going to cost a fraction of that price to actually build that and get it to the end of the line for me. But along those lines, I guess, what sets the AI builder apart from kind of the other low code, no code applications, even within the Microsoft world as well as the outside? There's so many more that are popping up every day. And then I think with that, if you want to maybe talk about the pricing point, because I know it's not exactly the most accessible pricing point at times, but there is a reason for that, I'm assuming. So I'm like, if you want to talk a bit about that as well.
Absolutely. So let me start with the first one. What makes AI Builder different? I feel, and I always tell that, right? I mean, at some point of time, parity between different tools, different capabilities is fairly less, right? You pick AI Builder, you pick a competitor solution, they might do very comparable things, right? So it's not so much in the tools. Again, sometimes somebody has more advantage or early mover advantage in a specific capability or phase, right? But at some point of time, long run, you will see parity between the two. I feel it's the ecosystem which is most important. The fact that we have enterprise users in Microsoft using everything else, right? Whether it's Dynamics or Office or just other tools in Power Platform. And now you can bring all of them together, or you can serve your data back to those tools or those other capabilities. I feel that makes everything more sticky and relatable. And I think that, in my mind, that is the biggest differentiation that AI Builder might have over other tools. From a pricing standpoint, I mean, that has been a constant complaint, and I think every time any MVP call we do, we get that, and same for customer calls as well. So that has changed, I would say. Very recently, we released a new pricing chart, and the price point has come down significantly lower. Um, I think we were asked a lot of times, how does this compare with cognitive services, the price point? And our goal over the last few months had been to come to parity and to the same level as cognitive services as possible, because ultimately AI Builder uh, is built on all the goodness that exists in the Microsoft AI stacks, right? So which is Azure machine learning underneath, and then cognitive services underneath, right? So all of that goodness bubbles up into AI Builder models and whatever is available in AI Builder. And our thinking is that people shouldn't make choices on which layer to play in based on the price point, right? They should make choices on which layer to operate on based on the skills. So if you're a citizen developer and you want to use AI, then AI Builder is where you want to go, right? And we want to give you the price that's kind of comparable. If you're a pro developer, then you want to play at, let's say, cognitive service layer, because you're working with APIs, you're building stuff, right? You're writing code. Then you can operate at that level, and you see the same price point as much as possible. For higher usage, higher tiers, I mean, you shouldn't see any difference price at all. For some lower usage, you might still see the premium of low code, no code, but otherwise, that complaint we feel should go away. I mean, we're trying to solve that. And
And I mean, it's a fair point, right? Like, it's one of those things, once it starts, it is impossible to get rid of kind of that state. Even if people like, even if it's completely changed, even if you give it for free, people are still like, no, but it's really expensive. That's all I remember. And it's annoying, but I get it. And I think your point there is exactly what people forget to think about. It's like, well, you're using this low code platform, which is removing the need for you to have
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different A, technology stacks, B, skill sets. And
Yeah.
yet you're complaining about the price. Like, it's an interesting kind of sphere of like, give me everything I want, but give it to me for free. And I'm like, there's only so much you can do with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Akansha, that you are getting some benefits, and you need to pay for that benefit. Um, Coming to so since we have talked about it, AI Builder itself, and its capabilities, now I want to touch base on like what is the common use cases which you have seen, Ashish, and where it is being used and with what industries. If you would like to talk about, talk about some practical solutions,
absolutely.
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Again, I'm thinking where to start. Let's start with just capabilities, right? So when you go to AI Builder, you'll see, again, you'll probably, some people get inundated by amount of models that are there. I was just talking to a gentleman right before this call, and they were asking about a specific model. Where is it present, right? And he gave me a screenshot, right? I'm like, it's right there, top left tile is your model that you're looking for. It's like, oh, I was looking somewhere in the bottom. So again, there are a lot of models, right? And then if you see, there's a classification of models, in the sense there are document-related models, which will process documents and extract information from documents, if that's where you want, or where your interest is. There are text-related models, which work on just text data. There are image models, and then there are prediction models, which work on tabular data. For some of the scenarios that we have seen around documentation, they're more around processing of receipts, processing of identity documents, whether it's your license, passport, or things like that. Or then invoice processing is super popular. One of our hero scenario is intelligent document processing, right, where you can either use a pre-built model, or you can use a custom model, which is processing some kind of a document. And documents can be structured or unstructured. What are these? Think of an invoice which has some structure, in the sense you have date, who is you invoicing you, what are the items in it. So it has some structure to it, right? And then an example of unstructured could be contracts, lease agreements, right? Where again, there's huge text, but then there are pockets of things that you want to grab. Like for example, in contract, you might want to grab um, who are the two parties between which this contract was done, who are the signing entities, what was the date of the contract, things like that, right? You can extract that and drop it into a table or a SharePoint, and then you can set up triggers every time I'm 15 days away from the contract getting expired, or a month away from contract getting expired. I need an alert, right? Things like that. You can do stuff like that. Where it's more structured document, it has some kind of structure. You can then extract again the tabular data. If it's an invoice, you want to extract all the items from the invoice and do something with it. Then those are things that you can do. On the tech side, there's a lot around sentiment analysis of a given tech. So I'm receiving reviews of my product in a site or wherever on my portal, right? And I want to classify all reviews which are positive, negative, neutral, and I want to do something about it. Or I am a customer service kind of entity, a bank or some other product entity as well, right? Where customers are either sending me complaints or orders or returns, and as they're coming to my email box, I want to classify them in different classes, and based on the different class, I want to have a different process that goes after that downstream, right? So you could do stuff like that. For images, again, identifying objects is a thing. In retail scenario, you can imagine placement of products on shelf, holes in a shelf, and those are very common scenarios. Counting of objects is a common scenario as well. Can be used in inventory counting, or identifying an object and looking up manual for that given tool or piece of object that might be. So those are some common things that we have seen, but again, people are doing all sorts of different things like in the space.
Yeah, these are really. I think you have touched almost everything from text to vision to, I think, yeah, text and vision mostly. And then there is documentation as well, where we were talking about receipts, and then you talked about unstructured. I never knew about this unstructured one, but by the way, because which is very nice. I will have to try. So yeah, since we are talking about this as well, so like you can use this here, this there, but I'm sure that the team back in Microsoft must be dealing with some really big challenges around that. And of course, the requests from the client, requests from different people in the community may have overwhelmed you with the responses. So what is the biggest challenge, I would say, and then if you can just tell us like 2 to 3 challenges, what you have seen, what is also from the technical standpoint, like let's say people usually come and then say, hey, can I build a chat GPT in AI builder, something like that. So
I'll go there slowly. Yeah. Again, from challenge perspective, I think licensing was one of the biggest challenge hurdle. I think we've gone past that. We've solved that. The other things that we very frequently get asked is more control over how models are managed, because ultimately when things go beyond just experimental phase and they go into enterprise usage, then you see admins come in. They want to manage who is building models, who is putting models in production, which models are getting used in which flows or apps and things like that. So there's a lot of ask around better ability to better manage model and have governance over it, right? Another kind of consistent. So again, there's already a lot in that space that exists, but again, there is more all the time that's needed to give more control to admins, and as these things become real world, right? We get a lot of asks around credit management, right? I mean, credit management, you can already do credit management at environment level, but people want to do it at model level, right? Can I give X amount of credits to a model, and beyond that, it shouldn't consume it, things like that.
yeah.
So a lot of kind of asks around that. The biggest thing that we are kind of dealing with right now is just access to OpenAI model, right? There's so much demand
Yeah.
on that, and everybody is asking for access. Right now, the preview is limited to US and English only.
Yeah.
So that's
But
inundated
now,
with economics right now.
no, no, it's good that you have touched this point. It was my next question, and we would like to expand a little bit on this. So, what are you bringing from OpenAI? Because it has got like everything from completion to chat to everything.
Yeah.
What exactly are you bringing in, and then how? Uh, what are the possible use cases? Is it just for summarization? It is for generation of different text. Can I post my, let's say, can I do my social media posting with that, or can I run a campaign with that? All that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So again, that is by far the most profound technology that we have brought to AI Builder from an AI capability model standpoint. Microsoft has this unique partnership with OpenAI. Again, we know about it. We've read all the news about it, right? So there's no secret there. And our consistent effort is to bring that AI that is getting built out in OpenAI, as well as what's getting done in Microsoft on top of what OpenAI has done consistently to no-code users. And the biggest, I would say, the biggest advantage, right, is Microsoft's. Let me put it this different way, right? So one of the things that we are doing on top of just OpenAI model that you otherwise would see in ChatGPT is Microsoft brings along a lot of its responsible AI kind of capabilities, content moderation on top of it. We're doing a bunch of work around uh, training new models, right, or fine tuning more models, right? So, for example, if you see the GitHub Copilot model, right, that is a fine tuned version of OpenAI models, right? So that
Yeah.
they are fit for task. But again, that's in specialized zone where GitHub is doing all of that work. For AI Builder, we're bringing the latest models from OpenAI and Azure OpenAI specifically in this case, and then making them available for no-code developers. One of the things I feel the reason it feels profound is, if you remember, even a couple of months back, right, the the no code audience or makers or citizen developers, the amount of AI they had access to or the quality of AI they had access to was always lagging, right? Whatever was latest in the world was still not available to them, right? But with OpenAI model being available, they have access to the exact same model that professional developers or professional data scientists are working on, right? So it kind of creates that level playing field for no code makers. I feel it gives them an advantage because even if you are a professional developer and you're doing something with that model, you will still be packaging it in software and you're building other things around it, right? It still takes time. But with this thing available in Power Platform and AI Builder, you could build a flow and you can release it today, right? Or you can build an app and you're ready to go. So the time
Yeah.
to market is just really, really short circuited. And I feel for the no code citizen developer kind of persona, that is actually an advantage, a step up from everything else that was already there. So I feel that's very profound. The other thing is this model is more general, right? It's multimodal, as we call it. It can perform multiple tasks. So everything that we spoke about, right, in text and document area, uh, it can already do some of that. Most of that, I would say, right? It can do translation, summarization, extraction of information, and just things that we can't even imagine, right? I always say imagination is our limit right now with this model. Um, and then also remember that anytime you see a version of the model, there's probably a 10 times better model under testing. So if people remember, right, ChatGPT released in November, and then in April we had GPT-4. So in a matter of few months, right, we've seen a generational change in that model. We've also seen that how different is that model, right? How more capable is that model, right? It can not just reason over text, but it can reason over images as well. And you can easily imagine that there's something else that might come in 6 months or a year or whatever is the next time horizon, right? Which might be another next generational change. So as as people who are building these capabilities, we should always assume that there's a more powerful model that's coming somewhere in the horizon, and its ability to do things will be very different, right? So that's where we are. I mean, the pace of innovation is like crazy right now.
Oh, stop. I've like in the last month alone, I've been asked like, oh, where do you see things going in the next like 5 years? I'm like, I don't know where it's going in the next 2 months. Don't ask me 5 years. But it's true. Like the speed and the rapidness of innovation at the moment is bizarre. And I mean, I literally looked back over at one of the cognitive services, like the speech ones, and it now knows how to understand and spell my name correctly, and it terrifies me. I can barely spell my name correctly on most days. There's days I type it and I'm like, that's not my name. And it was able to do that from me saying it constantly over and over again. And I was like, no, there's a second K in there. And she says that, and there we go. Which is terrifying. I'm like, it couldn't do that. It was picking up like random letters instead of my name originally, and it becomes better over time. But almost as a wrap-up question, actually, Ashish, for you, because I think there is just so much unknown kind of coming up. But I guess in the next, and I won't do 5 years for you, I will give you a more realistic timeline. But in the next couple of months, or even just the next like short-term future, how do you envision this relationship between all the new things that are coming through? And I mean, it's completely fair to say no, because we don't know what the new versions of these things are going to look like. But I guess the relationship between AI and the low-code aspect of development, how do you see that kind of going through, especially with all the things that you've mentioned in the roadmap for AI Builder itself?
Yeah, I can't.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how to answer. I cannot talk about stuff that's on the roadmap. I can tell about just what we can foresee, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I talked about multimodality of these models, right? They can already do multiple tasks at the same time. I can ask a given model to say, hey, take this incoming email, give me a sentiment score of that, also summarize it and extract the two most important action points, things like that, right? You can ask it to do multiple tasks at the same time. Just the multimodality from working on text versus images. Again, we can already imagine it can process and reason over images. At some point of time, it can give you new images. We've already seen it with DALL-E and Project Florence on Microsoft side. It's just a matter of combining those capabilities where the model can not just reason over text and images, but maybe videos at some point of time, tabular data at some point of time as well, right? So those are things I would say are not far-fetched and are coming probably very soon, right? One of the most important aspects that we kind of hear from customers is about ChatGPT or OpenAI. All of these large language models are great from a human interaction standpoint and human-like text generation standpoint, but again, they're still spitting out everything that they have learned from the internet, right? How do I ground it to my corporate data? How do I ground it to my enterprise data, right? So those are the things that are super interesting, and those are the things that we should go solve, because beyond the party trick, beyond the initial hype, beyond the wow effect, ultimately businesses want to utilize this to create value for their customers, value for their users. And the sooner we can bring and ground it on just company data, the sooner it can start to create that real world business value for our customers, I feel. So I would say that is the direction I feel we all are headed and going, and that's a consistent ask that we are seeing as well.
I think that is a absolutely perfect place to wrap this up on, in terms of it's there, we've got the tech, now let's make it actually usable for most people in their context. But Ashish, thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything you have so far. I think I say this all the time, low code applications are fascinating, and their use cases are always extremely fascinating, especially to our listeners who quite often haven't looked at them, essentially because they seem kind of out of scope and not really a usability aspect of them. So thank you for clearing that up. We really, really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Perfect. So we'll wrap this episode up there, folks, and we will be back again next month with another episode talking all about AI in another industry and how it's all being used.
Bye bye.